Okay, so imagine looking at a real estate market where suburban home sales are, they're quietly rising. But then just a few miles down the road, rural land prices have violently crashed, like by 27%.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
It really is. So welcome to our deep dive on Denton County. It is late August 2026, and the old rules of real estate have completely stopped working.
They're broken, yeah.
Right. The standard economic compass is just sort of spinning in circles right now.
It is because, we are looking at a diagnostic landscape that is just incredibly murky.
Yeah.
The data is pulling in completely opposite directions, depending on exactly where you look or what kind of property you're analyzing, and even, honestly, how you secure your financing.
Oh, absolutely. So our mission today is to decode those mixed signals because as we close out the summer, back to school season is in full swing here.
Oh, yeah, everyone's busy.
And the Texas heat is still just punishing.
Brutal, yeah.
It is. So we want to unpack exactly what is happening in the North Texas housing market right now.
Right.
And our goal really is to give you a shortcut to being a well-informed buyer or a strategic seller or just a smarter neighbor.
I like that, yeah.
So we are pulling our data today from a few really solid sources. First, we've got the August 2026 market reports from the local MLS, which is known locally as Net Trend.
Yep, Net Trends.
And we're also layering in some macroeconomic forecasts from Texas A&M's Real Estate Research Center.
Which is always so insightful.
It really is. And then finally, we're getting a crucial boots-on-the-ground reality check from Peet Realty.
Yeah.
They're a brokerage out of Alvord, Texas. And they have, I think, over 12 years of experience navigating these exact counties.
That combination of sources is so vital, honestly, because you need the macro data from Texas A&M to sort of see the massive weather system hovering over the whole country.
Right. The big picture.
Exactly. But you really need the local brokerage data from NetTries and Peet Realty to know if it is actually raining in your specific neighborhood.
That is a great way to put it. Because before we can even look at whether, a 3-bedroom house in Denton is actually selling, we have to look at that invisible ceiling pressing down on the entire market.
Interest rates.
Yes, interest rates.
Yeah.
And the consumer psychology tied to them.
Yeah, that's the big one.
So let's lay out the reality of borrowing money in mid-August 2026. What are the actual numbers buyers are facing when they walk into a bank today?
So the baseline metric that everyone watches is the average 30-year conventional fixed rate.
Okay.
And right now, that is hovering right at 6.63%.
Okay, 6.63.
But the number that actually hits a buyer's wallet, the one they feel, is the APR, the annual percentage rate.
Right, because that includes all the extra stuff.
Exactly. When you factor in origination fees and closing costs, that APR is sitting closer to 6.8%.
Wow, okay.
And if you are looking at a shorter timeline, the 15-year conventional is sitting flat at 6.0%.
Okay, so a little better, but still high. But here's the number that really jumps out from the data to me. FHA loans.
Oh, yeah.
Because on the surface, they look like this incredible lifeline for a buyer. I mean, they're sitting at an attractive 6.25%.
On paper, right.
Right. But the data shows that once the paperwork is signed, the effective APR climbs to almost 7%.
It does.
Which lands it right back near the conventional financing cost.
Yeah, the mechanics behind that FHA loan trap a lot of first-time buyers.
I could see how.
Because they just look at the headline rate, Yeah. So FHA loans, they're backed by the Federal Housing Administration, which is great because it allows buyers to put down as little as 3.5%.
Which sounds awesome if you don't have a ton of cash.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But because that low down payment represents a riskier loan for the lender, the FHA mandates what is called a mortgage insurance premium, or MIP.
Wait, break that down for me. How exactly does that insurance premium erase the benefit of the lower interest rate?
It hits you in two places, actually.
Okay.
First, you pay an upfront premium at closing. And that is usually 1.75% of the base loan amount.
Oh, wow. Right off the bat.
Right off the bat. Then you have an annual premium that is divided by 12 and baked directly into your monthly payment.
Oh, I see.
So your interest rate might technically be 6.25%, right?
Yeah.
But when you calculate the actual total cost of the money you are borrowing over the life of the year, that mandatory insurance payment drags your effective rate right back up to 7%.
Man. So the discount is literally an illusion.
It's an illusion.
So we are essentially looking at a market functionally operating near a 7% interest rate.
Yes.
And we keep hearing these whispers of rate cuts, right?
Yeah.
Every week it's like, oh, rates are going to drop. But the needle barely moves.
It really hasn't.
What is the actual mechanical link keeping these rates stuck so high?
It all goes back to the bond market, specifically the 10-year Treasury yield. The 10-year Treasury is essentially a loan to the U.S. government, and it serves as the benchmark for global borrowing.
Gotcha.
Historically, 30-year mortgage rates track about 1.5 to 2 percentage points above whatever the 10-year Treasury yield is at that moment.
Okay, so they move together.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, that Treasury yield is stubbornly remaining above 4%.
Oh.
So as long as that yield acts as a hard floor above 4%, it mathematically prevents any rapid or meaningful drops in the 30-year mortgage rate.
So it just can't drop until the Treasury yield drops.
Right.
Why is that Treasury yield refusing to budge, though?
Well, the Texas A&M data points to a mix of things. Persistent inflation and global instability.
Okay.
Our sources specifically highlight the ongoing unrest in the Middle East as a major factor right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because geopolitical conflict always causes uncertainty in global energy markets, supply chains, all of that.
Right, oil prices and everything.
Exactly. So if bond investors believe that a conflict will cause oil prices to spike, which, drives up inflation, they demand higher yields on their 10-year treasuries.
To protect their money.
Yes, to protect the future purchasing power of their money.
That makes sense.
And when the government has to pay a higher yield to attract bond investors, mortgage lenders have to charge a higher interest rate to maintain their own profit margins.
Wow, okay.
So that global chain reaction trickles directly down to the person trying to finance a house in Denton County.
That is wild to think about. That, global unrest directly affects my mortgage in Texas.
It really does.
So bringing this down to the human level, here's what this data paints for me.
Okay.
It feels like buyers are standing on the edge of a high dive.
I love that analogy.
Like they have the money saved up, they've climbed the ladder, they desperately want to jump.
Yeah.
But the wind up there, these global headlines, the Middle East unrest, and this stark reality of a 7% APR, it's just making them freeze.
Oh, absolutely.
The conditions just feel too volatile to take the leap into a 30-year financial commitment.
I mean, when that wind is howling, the natural human instinct is to crouch down and wait.
Right.
The desire to own a home hasn't vanished, but the confidence to actually execute the transaction is paralyzed.
Paralyzed, yeah, that's the word. But here's the thing. If everyone is frozen on the diving board, I would expect the local sales data in Denton County to just be plummeting.
You would think so.
Right. If the macro environment is paralyzing people, shouldn't the local market be dead?
You would completely expect that. But the data from NetTries is completely counterintuitive.
Okay, tell me.
So in July 2026, Denton County actually saw closed sales for single-family homes rise.
Wait, really?
Yeah. We had 1,367 single-family homes close, which is up roughly 2% compared to the exact same month a year ago.
That is so fascinating, especially when you look at the county's overall closed sales.
Right.
Because when you combine every property type, right,
Yay.
like condos, townhomes, commercial, land.
Everything, yeah.
The overall sales were actually down 0.7% year over year.
Exactly.
So single-family homes are literally carrying the entire market on their back.
They are quietly but definitively outperforming the broader market.
Wow.
And when condos and commercial properties are dragging the overall average down, but detached single-family homes are up 2%, it proves a fundamental truth about real estate.
Which is?
Life events override macroeconomics.
Oh, that is so true.
Right. I mean, even with 7% rates, even with global unrest, when a family decides they need more space, or they're relocating for a new job,
Right.
or they just want their kids settled in a specific school district before that mid-August bell rings,
Yeah, back to school is a huge driver.
they will still execute the purchase.
Yeah, people still get married, have kids, change jobs, they retire.
Exactly.
The 10-year Treasury yield doesn't stop life from happening.
No, it doesn't.
So how is this steady volume of sales impacting actual home prices in Denton?
Well, the pricing data tells a story of a very graceful easing rather than a crash.
Okay, graceful easing, I like that.
Yeah. The median sale price for a single-family home in Denton County in July was $459,000.
Okay.
And that is down a slight 1% year over year.
Just 1%.
Just 1%. But the average price was $552,108, which is down about 4%.
Okay, let's unpack the difference between that median and average drop.
Yeah.
Because I think it paints a very specific picture of who is actually buying right now.
It absolutely does. So the average price being down 4% tells us that the ultra high-end luxury homes, the multi-million-dollar estates that pull the math upward, they aren't selling as briskly.
Oh, I see.
High net worth individuals might be holding off.
Right, because they can.
Exactly. But the median price represents the exact middle of the market. Half the homes sell for more, half sell for less.
Right.
A 1% drop on a $459,000 home is essentially statistical noise.
Yeah, it's nothing.
It means the core working class and middle class housing market is holding remarkably steady.
That is so interesting.
Prices aren't collapsing, they're just finding a sustainable plateau.
Well, and if you are a buyer trying to navigate this,
Yeah.
you finally have a tiny bit of breathing room that simply did not exist 12 to 18 months ago.
Oh, completely.
You aren't watching the house you appreciate by $10,000 while you spend the weekend thinking about it.
Right. The panic is gone.
Exactly. And if you're a seller, last year's chaotic bidding wars with buyers waiving inspections, that's history.
Thankfully.
Yeah. But your home's underlying value hasn't fallen off a cliff either.
Exactly. It's a return to a sane, functioning market.
That's a good word for it, sane.
But that stabilization brings us to a really critical metric.
Okay.
If prices are slightly down, but sales volume is slightly up, who actually holds the leverage when they sit down at the negotiating table?
That is the million-dollar question. Because to figure out who holds the cards, we have to look at the speed limit of the market, right?
Yeah.
Time and supply.
Yes.
The ticking clock is where leverage is born.
It really is. And the foundational metric for that clock is called months of supply, or months of inventory.
Right.
The latest data shows that Denton County's single-family homes currently sit at 4.8 months of supply.
Okay, so for someone who doesn't look at MLS data every single day, what does 4.8 months actually mean in practice?
So imagine someone locked the gates to Denton County today and not a single new house was allowed to be listed for sale.
Okay, gates are locked.
Based on the exact current pace of buyers purchasing homes, it would take precisely 4.8 months to completely sell out of every single house currently on the market.
Oh, okay.
That's your absorption rate. Historically, anything under 5 to 6 months of supply is still technically considered a seller's market.
Oh, really? Still seller's market?
Technically, yes. Demand is absorbing supply fast enough to keep the seller in control.
But 4.8 months means we are drifting very rapidly toward a balanced market.
Very rapidly.
A year or two ago, we were measuring supply in weeks, not months.
We were measuring it in days sometimes.
Yeah, true. And you can see the friction of that extra supply in the days on market data, right?
Oh, definitely.
Because in July, the average days on market was 52 days, which is up 4% from last year.
Yep.
And the year-to-date average is sitting at 60 days, 2 full months.
Which is huge, because the psychological toll of that on a seller is immense.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Just having to keep your house perfectly pristine, vacuuming every day, leaving the house for random showings every weekend.
For 60 straight days.
Right. It exhausts the seller. And it makes them highly motivated to make a deal just to get their life back.
Yes, that exhaustion is exactly where the buyer finds their leverage.
Exactly.
And it shows in the final numbers, because the sold-to-list ratio is 94.7% countywide, which is actually down from 95.1% last year.
Yeah, that drop matters.
It does. Buyers are looking at these houses sitting for 60 days, and they aren't just getting money knocked off the purchase price.
No, they're not.
They're successfully negotiating major seller concessions.
Right. So a 94.7% sold-to-list ratio means if a house is listed at $500,000, it's ultimately selling for about $473,500.
Okay, so that's like a $26,000 discount.
Exactly. But buyers aren't just pocketing that $26,000.
What are they doing with it?
They are strategically asking the seller to use those funds to buy down their mortgage rate, which directly combats that 7% sting we talked about earlier.
Okay, wait. How exactly does a buyer use a seller's money to change a bank's interest rate? Because that sounds like a massive financial loophole.
I know it does, but it's completely legal. And it's currently a very popular financing structure called a temporary buydown.
Okay.
Often it's structured as a 2-1 buydown.
A 2-1 buydown. Okay, how does that work mechanically?
Here is the mechanism. Instead of the seller dropping the price of the house by $15,000, they keep the price higher, but agree to credit the buyer $15,000 at closing.
Okay.
That money goes into an escrow account held by the lender.
Gotcha.
Now, for the first year of the mortgage, that escrow account subsidizes the buyer's monthly payment, effectively lowering their interest rate by 2%.
Oh, wow. So instead of paying 7%, their payment reflects a 5% rate.
Exactly. And then the second year, the subsidy drops and they pay a 6% rate.
Okay.
By year 3, the escrow money is gone and they revert to the standard 7% rate.
Man. So the buyer gets 2 years of heavily discounted payments, hoping that by year 3, macroeconomic rates have fallen enough that they could just refinance permanently.
That is exactly the strategy, yeah.
It's an incredible strategy, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But it requires a seller desperate enough to give up that cash at closing.
Which brings us directly back to those 60 days on market. Right. If your house sits that long, you become the desperate seller willing to fund that buy down.
This highlights a concept I like to call the overpricing penalty.
Ooh, tell me.
Well, if a house is going to sit for 60 days on average, you literally cannot afford to get your asking price wrong on day 1.
No, you can't.
Right. Overpricing a home in this late August market is like leaving a gallon of milk out on the counter on a Texas summer day.
Oh, gosh.
It sours instantly.
It does. And when that milk sours, buyers start wondering, what else is wrong with the house?
Exactly.
You lose all your negotiating leverage. If you list 5% too high just to, test the waters, buyers don't even bother putting in a lowball offer anymore.
Why not?
Because there are 4.8 months of other inventory to look at. Their real estate agent's algorithm just skips your house entirely.
Oh, that hurts. So by the time you finally drop your price 3 weeks later, your listing is completely stale.
The data proves that pricing realistically on day 1 is more critical right now than at any point in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
During the pandemic boom, you could overprice a house, and the rapid market appreciation would catch up to your asking price in like a month.
Oh, yeah, people were just throwing numbers out there.
Exactly. But that mechanism is completely broken now.
Right.
If you overprice today, you will be punished with days on market, and you will almost certainly end up selling for less than if you had just priced it correctly from the start.
See, all of this logic makes total sense for a suburban house.
Yeah.
4.8 months of inventory requires a sharp strategy, but it is a manageable ecosystem.
It is.
But what happens when we leave the city limits?
Oh, man.
Because according to our sources, the moment you look at acreage, the data flips completely upside down.
It is a completely different economic universe once you get out of the subdivisions.
Let's get into the Wild West of land and ranch real estate.
Let's do it.
Because according to the July data for Denton County, the official farm property category recorded 0 closed MLS sales.
0. But we need to clarify what that 0 actually means, because it reflects a quirk in how data is tracked.
Okay, I was wondering about that.
Yeah, it doesn't mean literally no working farms were sold in the entire county.
Right.
It reflects how few pure large-scale agricultural transactions are formally logged through the traditional MLS software in a given month.
Because they're just done differently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Denton County is rapidly suburbanizing, so a lot of those pure ag deals happen off-market, quietly between neighbors, or they are structured as commercial acquisitions rather than a standard farm listing.
Okay, that makes sense. So the much more useful metric is the broader land category.
Yes.
This captures, acreage, rural tracts, the places where you might build a custom home or run a small herd of livestock.
Mm-hmm.
And here the numbers are staggering because sales jumped an incredible 47% year over year.
Yeah.
There were 22 closings in July alone.
And a 47% jump in transaction volume in a single month is a massive spike in demand.
It is. But here is the absolute twist. While sales jumped 47%, the median land sale price violently crashed.
It did.
It dropped 27% down to $347,500.
Yeah, that's a huge hit.
And the inventory for land is sitting at an unbelievable 20 months.
20 months! That is almost 2 entire years of supply sitting on the market.
How do we have a situation where sales are jumping by nearly 50%, but prices are collapsing by nearly 30%.
Yeah.
It sounds completely contradictory.
It sounds crazy, but it actually makes perfect economic sense when you look at the psychology of land sellers over the last few years.
Okay, explain that.
Well, land moves at a completely different rhythm than residential housing.
Right.
For the last couple of years, sellers of rural acreage in Denton County saw the suburban sprawl creeping toward them.
Oh, they saw the subdivisions coming.
Exactly. They saw developers paying premiums, and they started demanding astronomical prices for their dirt. They priced themselves completely out of reality, operating on speculation rather than current value.
Gotcha.
But because land doesn't have a mortgage in the same way a house does, many own it outright. They could afford to just sit on it.
Oh, so they just waited.
Right. So inventory piled up and up and up until it hit this massive 20-month backlog.
Wow. And then the dam broke on prices.
Exactly. Sellers finally capitulated. They realized the developers weren't coming to hand them a blank check in a 7% interest rate environment.
Right. Developers aren't borrowing at 7% to build a subdivision if they can help it.
Exactly. So they slashed their asking prices by 27%. And the exact moment they did, buyers swooped in.
Oh, wow.
The buyers were always there, waiting on the sidelines for the prices to come back down to earth.
So that capitulation is what caused the 47% surge in closed sales.
Yes.
20 months of inventory dictates that this is a hardcore, undeniable buyer's market for acreage. I mean, if you are selling a suburban house, you measure your time on the market in weeks. If you are selling land, you are measuring it in seasons.
You really are. And this is exactly why a buyer or a seller cannot use the same playbook for a rural tract of land as they do for a suburban house.
It's just too different.
The metrics, the buyer pool, the timeline, and especially the financing are all vastly different.
Yeah. Getting a loan for raw land has got to be entirely different from securing a conventional 30-year mortgage for a house, right?
Oh, it is.
Why is selling 15 acres of dirt so fundamentally different than selling a house in a subdivision?
Because you aren't just selling a place to live. You're selling a tax strategy, land management, and zoning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Traditional banks hate lending on raw land because if the buyer defaults, the bank is left holding a vacant field that is incredibly hard to liquidate.
That makes sense. They'd rather repossess a house they can flip.
Exactly. So land loans typically require a minimum of 20% to 50% down.
50% down.
Yep. With shorter repayment terms and higher interest rates.
Wow.
And on top of that, you have to navigate agricultural exemptions.
Oh, the ag exemption. I've heard of that.
It's huge. If a piece of land currently has an ag exemption for, say, grazing cattle, the property taxes are incredibly low.
Right.
But if a buyer purchases it and fails to maintain that agricultural use, they can trigger rollback taxes.
Rollback tax.
Essentially getting hit with years of back taxes at the much higher commercial or residential rate.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it can bankrupt an uninformed buyer.
Which perfectly highlights why our source material from Peet Realty is so valuable here.
Exactly.
Looking at their background, David Peet and his wife Marsha operate out of Alvord, Texas.
Yeah.
And the materials specifically note that they raise British white cattle.
I saw that.
And they ride retired Tennessee Walker horses on the North Texas LBJ Grasslands Trail System.
Which is such cool context.
It is. And that isn't just marketing copy for a brochure. That is vital, functional context for surviving a 20-month inventory cycle.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were a seller staring down nearly 2 years of supply for your 15 acres, you cannot hire an agent whose only experience is selling zero lot line townhomes in the city.
It would be a disaster.
You need a partner with boots on the ground, rural expertise.
Right.
You need someone who understands the mechanics of agricultural exemptions, grazing rights, soil quality, and the actual cost of running barbed wire fencing.
Exactly. You need someone who actually knows the dirt, not just the data on a spreadsheet.
Right.
Navigating a 20-month market requires immense stamina and highly targeted marketing.
I bet.
You are looking for a very specific buyer who has the cash reserves for a heavy down payment and the knowledge to actually manage the land.
It's a totally different ballgame.
It really is.
So we know where the market is today. It's late August 2026. Single-family homes are stable, but require incredibly precise day-one pricing.
Yep.
Land is a buyer's paradise born from seller capitulation. But where is all of this going? Let's talk about the future, and more importantly, what actionable steps our listeners should take right now.
So the forecasts are where things get incredibly interesting. because a strong consensus is starting to build among the economists.
Okay, tell me what to say.
Well, according to Texas A&M's Real Estate Research Center, their macroeconomic forecast projects a gradual, methodical easing of interest rates.
Okay.
Assuming inflation continues to behave and stay near target levels, they see mortgage rates drifting down into the 5.0% to 5.6% range by late 2026.
Okay, so that 5.0 to 5.6% range is a critical psychological and mathematical threshold.
It's massive.
Because Peet Realty's market analysis warns that when rates decrease to that specific level, the market will wake up fast. They liken it to a dam breaking.
And mechanically, that warning is entirely accurate.
Why is that 5% mark the magic number?
Going back to your high dive analogy, all those buyers currently frozen on the board by 7% rates, they are waiting for a safety net.
Right.
A 5.2% rate is that net. The moment rates cross down through the mid-fives, the affordability equation changes drastically.
Because the monthly payment just plummets.
Exactly. A monthly payment drops by hundreds of dollars. That unlocks borrowing power, which unleashes pent-up demand.
I see.
All those people who have delayed major life events, the growing families squeezed into 2-bedroom apartments.
Well, the retirees wanting to downsize but refusing to give up their current 3% rate.
Exactly. They will all hit the market at exactly the same time.
Oh, man. And when a dam breaks, you do not want to be the person just starting to gather wood to build a boat.
No, you do not.
So if you are listening to this to learn how to time the market, here is the immediate lesson.
Listen close.
If you are considering selling your house in the next 6 to 12 months, do not wait for the headlines to announce that rates have dropped to start painting your living room.
By the time the news cycle catches up, it will be too late to capture the initial surge.
Right, because if you wait for the buyer's flood market headline, it will take you 30 days to get contractors to your house, 2 weeks to get photos taken.
It takes time, yeah.
And by the time you are live on the MLS, you've completely missed the primary wave of highly motivated buyers.
You're just part of the noise at that point.
Right. So right now, this late summer back-to-school window where the market naturally takes a breath and families are busy with school supplies, this is your quiet time to prepare.
It is the exact right time to be proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah. And the Peet Realty notes specifically encourage homeowners to seek out estimated selling prices right now.
Yep.
Ask professionals to walk your house today in its current condition.
I love that advice.
Right. Ask them what investments will actually offer a return on investment, a tangible ROI, right now in your specific neighborhood.
Because you do not want to go spend $40,000 on a luxury kitchen remodel if the data says buyers in your zip code only care about a new roof, an upgraded HVAC system, and fresh neutral paint.
Exactly. Find a professional partner who can tell you exactly where to deploy your capital so that when that 5.5% rate hits, your listing is live on day one.
That's all about being ready.
It is. So, summarizing the current state of Denton County, we are looking at a market that is finally finding its footing.
It is.
It is cooling, but in an orderly, highly manageable way.
Right. The chaotic, unpredictable spikes and crashes of the pandemic era are just gone.
Good riddance.
Honestly, yes. This is a market actively rewarding buyers and sellers who come to the table with realistic expectations, patience, and a well-thought-out financial strategy.
It is a market designed for the prepared.
I agree completely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Denton County data. Understanding the deep mechanics behind the flashy headlines is truly the only way to make smart, leveraged decisions.
It's been great.
Before we go, I want to leave you with a final concept to mull over. Something that builds on everything we just dissected today.
Okay, let's hear it.
We talked extensively about buyers negotiating 2-1 rate buydowns and demanding seller concessions to combat those 7% APRs.
Yeah, the financial maneuvering.
Right. But think about what that really means for the future of residential real estate. Are we shifting away from the traditional model of buying homes and moving toward a model of buying financial agility?
Oh, wow. That's a shift.
Because if this trend of high rates and complex seller concessions continues, the winner of tomorrow's real estate market won't necessarily be the person with the nicest granite countertops or the best landscaping or the freshly painted shiplap.
Right.
The winner will be the seller who can creatively engineer the best interest rate package for their buyer.
Whether that means offering a structured 2-1 buy-down or having an assumable VA or FHA mortgage that a buyer can take over.
Yes, or having the financial bandwidth to carry a private note. we might be entering an era where you are no longer just selling a house. You are essentially selling a customized financial product that just happens to have a roof attached to it.
That represents a fascinating shift in perspective.
Doesn't it?
It fundamentally changes the entire value proposition of a residential property from purely aesthetic to deeply financial.
It really does.
Yeah.
And it changes who holds the ultimate leverage. Just something to think about the next time you look at a for sale sign in your neighborhood. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and we will catch you on the next Deep Dive.